Georgia Guidestones Part 1: The Man with No Name and the Post-Apocalyptic Dream. Imagine a world engulfed in the ashes of destruction. Cities reduced to dust, oceans dried up, and what remains are people lost, confused in the darkness of doubt and despair. In such a world, what humanity needs is not gold, not weapons, but a guide like the 10 Commandments given to Moses from the top of Sinai, a set of rules to rebuild from scratch. Perhaps it was from this vision that, in the summer of 1979, a mysterious man appeared in Elberton, Georgia. No one knew where he came from. No one knew his real name. He simply identified himself as Robert Christian, a name that echoed Christian faith, yet was vague enough to leave no trace. At the time, Elberton was not a grand city. It was the granite capital of the world, where gray slabs of granite were mined, polished, and shipped everywhere, mainly for tombstones and memorials. But Christian did not come here to source stone for graves. He came with a blueprint, a miniature model, and a grand ambition to build a monument that would last millennia, surviving nuclear wars, global pandemics, or natural disasters. An unusual proposal. Christian approached Joe Findley, the president of Elberton Granite Company, a company that was used to regular orders for cemeteries and city parks. From their first meeting, Findley was skeptical. From their first meeting, Findley was skeptical. From their first meeting, Findley was skeptical. Who would spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to build a meaningless monument, with no heirs, no worshippers? But Christian was not a man of fantasy. He presented the design for massive slabs of granite standing in the shape of a cross, surrounding a central pillar, with a horizontal stone on top. The structure would stand nearly 5 meters tall, each slab 48 centimeters thick, 1.8 meters wide, and weighing several tons. He emphasized that these stones would not just be symbolic, but aligned with ancient astronomical phenomena, sunlight at the summer solstice. Winter solstice, spring and autumn equinox would shine through special slits, marking time and seasons for future generations. What struck Findley most, however, was the message to be inscribed on the stones in 8 of the most widely spoken languages in the world. English, Spanish, Russian, Chinese, Arabic, Hindi, Hebrew, and Swahili. Additionally, there would be inscriptions in 4 ancient languages: Babylonian, Egyptian hieroglyphs, Sanskrit, and Classical Greek. The central message, according to Christian, was to guide the era of reason. What was the true purpose? Why would an ordinary man want to erect a monument of such global significance? Christian explained that he represented a group of loyal American citizens who had spent 2 decades preparing this plan. They believed humanity was on the brink of collapse, and when civilization fell, a clear, simple, and sustainable set of rules would be necessary to help the survivors rebuild the world. But Christian never made it clear who this group was. There were no addresses, no member lists, just a belief in a future they thought was inevitable, the global collapse and reconstruction from nothing. At first, Fenley doubted the authenticity of the project. He quoted a price much higher than usual, citing the need for specialized equipment and complex processing techniques. But Christian was undeterred. He simply asked, "How long will it take?" Fenley replied that it could take at least 6 months, perhaps longer. But before starting, he demanded that Christian prove his financial capability. An odd visit to the bank. Christian agreed immediately and inquired about the largest bank in town. Here, Christian opened an account and signed a financial agreement for the project, but requested that Martin keep his identity a secret he wanted to take to the grave. After some hesitation, Martin agreed on the condition that all payments must be made fully and on time. Surprisingly, just a few days later, payments began arriving, without delay. From then on, Christian vanished from the public eye. He purchased a 5-hectare plot of land at the highest point in Elberton County, an ideal location to observe from every direction. The project was carried out in secrecy and completed in less than a year. The grand opening, a mysterious ceremony. On March 22, 1980, precisely on the spring equinox, the moment of balance between day and night, the Georgia Guidestones were officially inaugurated. The ceremony was simple but attracted significant attention, with the presence of local residents, journalists, and some state officials. And then, the man named Christian disappeared. No interviews, no speeches. Only the massive stones remained, standing alone in the Georgia countryside, carrying with them a mysterious message. The 10 post-apocalyptic commandments. What stirred controversy the most were the inscriptions on the stones. These were not simple moral rules like "thou shalt not steal" or "thou shalt not lie," but directives of a global and monumental scale. Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. Unite humanity with a living new language. Rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. protect people and nations with fair laws. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. Avoid petty laws and useless officials. Balance personal rights with social duties. Prize truth of beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. Be not a cancer on the earth, leave room for nature, leave room for nature. The first commandment immediately shook the world. At the time, the global population had already surpassed 4.5 billion. Who would decide who lived and who died to maintain a population of just 500 million? And was this humanitarian advice or a sinister agenda? Hope or control? Many saw the Guidestones as a wake-up call. Humanity needed to live in harmony with nature, to control its greed and unchecked reproduction in order to avoid extinction. But many others saw it as a form of eugenics, a call for forced sterilization, genetic purity, and the genocide of those deemed unfit. Christian made no secret of his views. In his 1986 book Common Sense Renewed, he emphasized the need for population control and the prioritization of superior genes, arguing that only this way could humanity avoid degeneration in intellect and health. Georgia Guidestones Part 2: The Mystery Behind the Cryptic Principles. Since the Georgia Guidestones were built and completed in 1980, they have become one of the most mysterious symbols in the United States. The enormous structure, with its massive granite slabs etched with 10 principles that seem to come from another world, is not just an architectural wonder, but a controversial landmark related to global issues such as population control, reproduction, and the unification of humanity. Although the Georgia Guidestones are considered by some to be a humanitarian project, as mentioned in the previous part, a man named Robert Christian approached Joe Fenley. Christian claimed to represent a group of loyal American citizens who had spent many years preparing this plan, yet this group was never disclosed. This lack of transparency immediately raised suspicions. While Christian assured Fenley that the monument would benefit humanity in the long run, many questioned, was he really? A notable detail is that after the completion of the monument, Christian vanished completely from the public eye, and no one heard from him again. The absence of any trace of this man or his group raised significant questions. If this was truly a project led by a group of loyal citizens, why keep their identities hidden? And if it was a project with a humanitarian goal, why was it carried out so secretly? The cryptic principles and questions about their purpose. Though the principles inscribed on the Georgia Guidestones spark much debate, they continue to be a subject of deep reflection. The first thing everyone noticed was the phrase "maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature." This figure is shockingly low compared to the current global population, which surpassed 4.5 billion in 1980 and is now nearly 8 billion. Is reducing the population drastically truly necessary to protect the planet? And who would decide who lives and who? This question extends beyond the issue of survival and raises concerns about power. Would a small, wealthy group hold the power to determine the fate of others? The principle calling for ***wise reproduction guidance *** seems to echo eugenics theories from the past. Where certain groups considered genetically inferior or intellectually unfit were subjected to forced sterilization, or even genocide. In the early 20th century, eugenics was a widely supported theory, particularly in the United States and Europe. Many countries carried out forced sterilization programs against those considered unfit to reproduce, including racial minorities, the poor, and the disabled. Some prominent scientists, like William Shockley, a Nobel laureate in physics, openly supported eugenics. Claiming that groups with low rights were weakening society and diminishing the quality of humanity. At the time Georgia Guidestones were built, such policies had not been fully eradicated. Throughout the 1970s, certain minority communities, including indigenous groups, were still subjected to forced sterilization based on claims that they were intellectually incapable of having children. These policies caused immense suffering and injustice for those affected. When examining the principles inscribed on the Georgia Guidestones, some people began to notice an unsettling similarity to these eugenic ideologies. The calls for population reduction and genetic improvement were not just simple biological concerns, but matters of power and discrimination. A unified language and a global government. In addition to the principles concerning population and reproduction, another striking principle is unite humanity with a living new language. This idea is not new, as throughout the 20th century, various attempts were made to create a universal language for the world, notably Esperanto. An international language created in the late 19th century. However, despite some initial support, Esperanto has not become a widely spoken language, and most countries continue to use their native tongues. Why then does the Georgia Guidestones call for a universal language? This could be explained by the global issues humanity faces: wars, social inequality, and division among nations and cultures. A universal language, some argue, could help reduce divisions and promote harmony between countries. However, in a world on the brink of collapse, could humanity still maintain a single universal language, or would people return to their native languages that have bound them for millennia? The destruction controversy and ongoing doubts. Since the explosion, public opinion has been divided. Some believe that those opposed to the message of the Georgia Guidestones carried out the attack to end what they saw as a dangerous ideology, while others speculate that the destruction was carried out by those wishing to prevent the revelation of the secrets hidden behind the monument. With unresolved questions and doubts that cannot be dismissed, the story of the Georgia Guidestones remains one of humanity's greatest unanswered mysteries, a legacy that still holds significance today.